You walk into the pro shop with a number in your head. $700 for a new driver head, the latest carbon fiber face, the adjustable weight track, the sound engineering that promises 6 more yards. You swipe the card, you take it to the range, and 40 swings later, the ball is landing exactly where your old driver landed. The difference is not in your hands. It is in the shaft. And the golf industry has spent a generation convincing you to look at the wrong end of the club. A driver head is a closed system. Every major brand launches a new model every 18 months, and each one claims a breakthrough. In 2023, Golf Digest tested 14 flagship drivers from the top manufacturers. Loft for loft, swing for swing, the difference between the longest and the shortest was 4 yards. 4 yards across a 14-club field. That is less than the distance between 2 adjacent parking spaces. Now consider the shaft. The same test, with the same head, swapped across 5 different shaft flexes and weights, produced a spread of 18 yards. 18 yards from the same head. The shaft did not add distance, it unlocked distance the head already contained, but could not deliver. Here is the truth that ties this together. A driver head is a spring. The shaft is the lever that loads that spring. If the lever is wrong, the spring never compresses. You are not swinging a head, you are swinging a system where the shaft determines whether the head ever does its job. If you are still reading, you already sense the gap between what the industry sells and what actually works. That gap is exactly what this channel exists to expose, one component at a time. Subscribe if you want to see every single piece of the golf equipment puzzle cracked open with cold data, not marketing hype. And in the comments, tell me, how many drivers have you bought in the last 5 years that did not deliver the distance they promised? Drop the number. I want to see the pattern. The golf industry knows this. Every tour van has a wall of shafts and a single box of heads. The fitters spend 90% of their time on the shaft and 10% on the head. But the marketing budget is reversed. 90% of advertising dollars go to the head because a shiny new head sells. A black graphite stick does not. Here is the mechanism. A shaft that is too stiff for your swing speed reduces club head speed at impact. A shaft that is too flexible causes the club face to arrive late, turning a square strike into an open face. A shaft that is the wrong weight distribution changes your swing plane mid-downswing because your body compensates for the feel. Every one of these errors costs distance and accuracy that no head upgrade can fix. The average golfer swings between 80 and 95 miles per hour. The average off-the-rack driver ships with a stiff flex shaft designed for a 100-mile-per-hour swing. That means the majority of golfers are playing a shaft that actively fights them. They spent $700 on a head that cannot perform because the shaft refuses to load. When the fitting bay at Club Champion analyzed 2,000 customer builds, the pattern was undeniable. 63% of golfers gained at least 10 yards from a shaft change alone. 10 yards, the same distance that the head manufacturers market as their next-generation breakthrough. And the shaft change cost a fraction of the head replacement. A custom-fit shaft runs between $150 and $300. A new driver head runs $600 to $800. The shaft upgrade pays for itself in distance per dollar at a ratio of roughly 4 to 1. That is not a marginal gain. That is the most efficient single purchase in golf equipment. If you have ever stood on the tee with a brand new driver and felt that quiet disappointment when the ball lands short of your playing partner's decade-old club, you know exactly what this feels like. You did not buy the wrong head. You bought the wrong shaft for your swing. The fitting industry has a term for this. They call it the head-first fallacy. The golfer walks in convinced the head is the problem because the marketing told them so. The fitter knows the shaft is the problem. And the polite ones will guide you. The less honest ones will let you buy the head and come back next year for the shaft when you realize the first purchase did not work. Here is the mathematical proof. A 2022 study by TrueSpec Golf measured ball speed across 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, an off-the-rack driver with a stock shaft. Scenario 2, the same head with a custom-fit shaft. Scenario 3, a new head with a custom-fit shaft. Scenario 2, outperformed Scenario 1 by 12% in ball speed. Scenario 3, outperformed Scenario 2 by less than 2%. The head contributed almost nothing after the shaft was correct. Golf Digest confirmed this pattern in their 2024 equipment analysis. Testing a single head across 6 different shafts produced a distance variance of 22 yards. Testing 6 heads with a single shaft produced a variance of 5 yards. The variable that matters is the shaft. The head is decoration. This is the kind of data the golf industry does not want you to see, and sharing it is why this channel exists. If you believe golfers deserve the truth about their equipment, subscribe and join a community that values performance over marketing. And in the comments type, if this resonates with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Link in the description if you are ready to stop falling for the head-first fallacy. Now consider the broader system. The driver head market is a repeat purchase machine. You buy a new head every 2 years because the marketing cycle convinces you that last year's model is obsolete. The shaft market is a one-time purchase. You buy a shaft once, it lasts for years, and it transfers to your next head with an adapter. The industry makes more money selling heads, so they advertise heads. The shaft is the quiet component that never gets a Super Bowl commercial. The PGA Tour data backs this silently. Tour players change heads less frequently than amateurs, but they change shafts constantly. A tour player might game the same driver, head for a full season, while swapping shafts 4 or 5 times to dial in launch angle, spin rate, and feel. They know the head is a platform, the shaft is the instrument. If you watch a tour player's warm-up, you see it. He swings 3 times, looks at the fitter, and points at the shaft. Not the head. The head stays.
Okay, let's try the whiteboard version.
The shaft comes out. The whole system is designed around the shaft because that is where the performance lives. But the Pro Shop experience is inverted. You walk in, see a wall of heads arranged by brand, each one glowing under the display lights. The shafts are in a rack behind the counter, unbranded black sticks that look identical. The visual hierarchy is engineered. The head gets the hero shot. The shaft gets the warehouse. The counterintuitive truth is that the most expensive driver you can buy off the rack is probably wrong for you. The stock shaft is chosen by the brand to hit a price point, not a performance point. It is the cheapest shaft the brand can source that does not break. It is not the shaft that fits your swing, it is the shaft that fits the margin. When a brand bundles a shaft with a driver, the shaft cost is roughly $30 wholesale. A quality aftermarket shaft costs $150 to $300 wholesale. The off-the-rack driver contains a $30 component that determines 90% of the performance. That math does not favor the golfer. Here is the evidence. My Golf Spy conducted a blind test where 20 golfers hit an identical driver head with 3 shafts: a stock shaft, a mid-range aftermarket shaft, and a premium tour-level shaft. 85% of golfers hit the longest drive with the aftermarket shaft. Only 10% hit the longest with the stock shaft. The remaining 5% were the ones whose swing speed matched the stock shaft by accident. The same test asked the golfers which driver they thought was the most expensive. Every single golfer picked the one with the most expensive head. Not a single golfer identified the shaft as the cost driver. The visual bias is that deep. You now know something that 90% of golfers do not. The question is whether you will use it. The next time you feel the pull of a shiny new head, remember the visual bias and subscribe before you forget, so this insight stays with you. And in the comments, write head-first fallacy if you have ever been that golfer who bought the wrong variable. I want to know how many of us there are. If you have ever dropped $600 on a driver and felt like you got a discount because the head was on sale, only to realize later that your distance did not change, that is the head-first fallacy in action. You paid for the wrong variable. The fix is simple. Find a fitter. Tell them you want to keep your current head. Ask them to fit you for a shaft only. Hit your current driver with a dozen different shafts until you find the one that loads correctly for your swing speed and tempo. The whole process takes about 45 minutes. The cost is less than a head replacement. The result is more distance than any head on the market can deliver. But there is a catch. The shaft that fits you now may not fit you in 6 months. Swing speed changes with fitness, age, and practice frequency. A shaft that works in the summer at 95 miles per hour may feel dead in the winter at 88. The tour players know this. They carry multiple shafts for different conditions. The amateur is told to buy one shaft and forget it. That advice is wrong. Here is the truth that ties all of this together. The driver, head you own right now, sitting in your bag, is almost certainly capable of more distance than you are getting from it. The bottleneck is the shaft, and the shaft is the cheapest component to fix. The next time you stand in the pro shop, staring at that shiny new head under the lights, remember the test data. 4 yards between heads. 22 yards between shafts. The real upgrade is not on display. It is in the rack behind the counter, wrapped in plain black graphite, waiting for someone who knows where to look. The industry is counting on you to buy the head. Be the golfer who buys the shaft. That is where the distance lives. That is where the money works. And that is the quiet edge no advertisement will ever give you. Here is the quiet financial truth the industry buries deeper than any specification sheet. If you buy a new driver head every 2 years at $700, that is $350 a year in head cost alone. A quality aftermarket shaft, custom fit to your swing, costs between $150 and $300 once. It transfers to your next head. And your next. And your next. Over 6 years, the head first spender pays over $2,000 for diminishing returns. The shaft first spender pays $300 once for immediate, repeatable gains. The PGA Tour understands this so well that most tour players sign separate shaft endorsement deals, often worth more than their head contracts. The shaft is where the money lives. The head is where the marketing lives. And the two have almost nothing to do with each other. When the true spec data runs the math out over a full bag, the numbers get worse. A set of irons with stock shafts, chosen by the manufacturer to hit a price point, costs the average golfer approximately 17 yards of total distance across the set compared to a custom shafted build. That is more than a full club gap. You are not just losing distance on the tee box. You are losing it on every single approach shot. The solution is not to spend more money. It is to spend money on the right variable. The shaft is the only component in your bag that touches the ball through your entire swing, from takeaway to impact to follow-through. The head touches it for less than 500 milliseconds. The grip touches it passively. The shaft is the transmission of your kinetic chain. If the transmission is wrong, the engine does not matter. You have walked through the entire system today, from the test data to the marketing tactics to the quiet financial edge. If this kind of systematic undressing of golf equipment is what you want in your feed, subscribe so you don't miss the next piece. And in the comments, answer this. After watching, will you check your shaft before your next head purchase? Type yes or no, let the data speak for itself. If you have ever felt that quiet pull toward the new driver display, knowing deep down that your current club is fine, but the marketing says it is obsolete, that is the head-first fallacy whispering in your ear. The industry engineered that whisper. They spent millions on it, and it works. But now you know the mechanism. The 4-yard difference between heads and the 22-yard difference between shafts. The stock shaft that is $30 wholesale, hidden inside a $700 purchase. The test data that tells a story the advertisement never will. The next driver you buy, do not let the pro shop sell you the head first. Ask for the shaft fitting. Demand to see the numbers. And when you find the shaft that loads perfectly for your swing, when the ball launches off the face with that sound you have been chasing, you will know the truth. The upgrade was never the head. It was the graphite stick the entire industry told you to ignore.